Welcome back to the channel. So by now, everybody's heard of Jeffrey Epstein and the whole situation that has gone down with him, from his arrest to, his supposedly suicide. And last year, the DOJ released over 3 million files to their website for the world to see. Well, I've been going through some of those files, and I started with the pictures, and I've plucked out 50 pictures so far that I feel that, the world should see, and they're all pertaining to different areas in his home to give you an idea of his mindset and how he was living. My goal here is to go through every file and pull out the interesting parts and present them to you all so you could get in the comments and tell me what you think. So without further ado, let's get into the photo. So you have the first photo here. The first photo is the placard. You see the FBI emblem on it. It's got the home address. Of course, it's got the photographer's name redacted and the case ID and the date. All this information you can verify on the DOJ's website. I didn't edit anything. None of this is AI generated. This is the authentic photos that were taken from the actual scene, which was his home that they went into once he was arrested. All right, so let's get on to the next picture. The next picture, this is an interesting photo. As you can see, it's a piece of art. We all know wealthy people spend a lot of money on art because art doesn't depreciate for the most part. As the older it gets, the more it's worth. But this struck me as very odd. As you can see, this is a photo or painting of Bill Clinton, former President Bill Clinton, in a blue dress. Now, everybody knows that him and Bill Clinton were close. They were tight. They were good buddies. But this is odd to me. Men, we do crazy things to mess with our friends. But for you to have a painting of one of your so-called best friends or close friends in a dress and heels, I think to a normal person that would be odd. I can't speak for everybody, but this was an odd picture to me. And as you can see, the rest of the photo, the painting right here, you can see the heels that he had on. This looks like a office area for maybe like a security area, because you notice he's got 3, 4, 5, looks like 6 monitors, and you see the whole database system over here, is in a electrical outlet here, so this was some high-tech stuff. Everybody knows that it was no secret that he had the whole place wired up with cameras and microphones. So you can't really put it past the fact that, this is the one of the security areas, we'll say. So yeah, it's another picture. You can see, looks like an alarm system back here, and it looks like it's a total of 7 monitors, 2 chairs. So you might have had 2 security guards on duty at a time, or 1 at a time. Or this could have been a checkpoint because this house was very big. I want to say it was 3 stories. And this was some type of list on one of it looks like hard drives where they were supposed to do some different type of services, maintenances, the cooling tower, monthly maintenance. It was a log, so to speak, but that was taped on the side of it. As you can see, you get a full look of the picture, the painting on the wall. Of course, former President Bill Clinton in a blue dress and some red pumps. That's just wild to me, in this little nook area. My question would be, did Bill know he had this painting? I would go out on a limb and say he had to know he had this painting. They were good buddies. We all know his name was all over those flight logs to and from that island. So I'm pretty sure Bill knew there was probably some type of inside joke. I would be inclined to say that might be the dress that Monica Lewinsky was wearing. Who knows? This is an office area. You can see the computer. You see his artwork he has on all the walls. It looks like a basic work area, office area. Another angle of the office area, it's got the leather couch, it's got a bookshelf, it's got a clock, and, you see the Marilyn Monroe photo. that looks like a photo of Muhammad Ali. And this struck me as odd as well. In one of the bathrooms, it's a cartoon-like photo of him and Bill Clinton, and it looks like they're standing in front of a plane, and you got two people going up to get into the plane, and they're all standing there with their bags, probably, something they would constantly do when they would go to the island, all get buddied up like they were going on a golfing retreat or something. But yeah, for that to be sitting over the toilet, it's kind of odd. This one is of the hallway. You can see the staircase, the beginning of it. You can see down the hall, it looks like into a formal dining area. You can see like a fireplace, more artwork. The one thing I noticed about this house, it had a ton of artwork. So the question would be, what would be the actual price of all this artwork totaled up? What would be the outcome you would get if you added up all the artwork that he purchased to decorate this home with? There's a picture of the hallway leading to what it looks like an elevator. Like I said, this home had like 3 or 4 stories. So you'll see in one of the photos, I believe it has it on the wall, 3rd story or 3rd floor. And this is something else I noticed that was littered throughout the house. He had pictures of women all over the house. Now, my question would be, are these friends, family members, victims, or are these pictures of models that he would buy just because he thought the women in the picture were attractive? Me, I think it's a little bit of friends, family, and victims, but you don't know which is which. And that's the crazy part. Again, more artwork above the fireplace. I'm pretty sure that was an expensive piece of art. This is like a little lounge area. You see, you got the chessboard, and then you got the beginning of the staircase. This is what really weirded me out. This picture is hanging over the staircase, and it's a statue of some type of figure in what looks like a wedding dress. It's got a veil on it, and it's hanging from the ceiling like it's sliding down a rope, or just hanging on the rope with a white wedding dress, which is very odd. Like some of this, sculptures and art and stuff is very eccentric, very. And when we all know, eccentric people tend to have weird taste and fetishes. Now, this one, I couldn't wrap my head on this one, because it looks like one of those old statues of, the old Negro kid, so to speak, the old Sambo type kid, that would shine your shoes back in the day. It's like he's sitting on a bench at a train station or something from back in the day. He has this type of sculpture sitting in his crib. I mean, you can see the artwork on the wall and behind the statue itself. And then he had a gorilla head over another toilet in another bathroom of the house. It was like he had random stuff all over the place. Like I said, this was an eccentric guy, and we all know he was into some weird, wild stuff. Another angle of the kid sitting on the bench, with his legs crossed. This looks like a informal dining area, where they would eat and probably brainstorm on different stuff. You could see artwork on the wall here. You could see a gong in the background. So another, label placard on the doorway. Another angle from actually inside the dining area. You got pictures back here on this desk or table, whatever that is back there. You got a little lounge couch up against the wall. Looks like a dry erase board. So it looks like somewhere where they would eat and, have brainstorming sessions, or just, maybe private conversations. But what struck me as odd is the gong sitting back there in the background. So, you got more pictures over here, another doorway. You can see another doorway in the corner, candles all around. So, these pictures, they're telling you a story of how this guy was living. And then you have like a little nook area with candles, a picture that looks like it's got Jeffrey Epstein himself in the picture and somebody else. And then you have a picture of a woman, and the face is redacted. Like I said, we don't know if this picture is of a family member, a friend, or a victim, or it could just be the model in the picture. Who knows? Because, he had a thing for women. It was no secret. But if I had to guess and put my money on it, I would say it was probably either a friend or family member or a victim. he kept trophies. This is a photo of a closet area. As you can see, the red jacket, the media showed plenty photos with him wearing this red jacket. I would be inclined to say this is a very infamous red jacket, almost equivalent to OJ's white Bronco. And then you got the staircase, heading up to another floor, another area of the house, which looks like there's a bookshelf there and a little seat there for somebody to sit there and read. And this picture here looks like of an African tribesman, and he has this over another toilet. Like, I don't understand the fascination of putting pictures of people over the crapper. That to me was just odd. Like if you're a guy, you're standing there taking a piss and you're sitting there looking straight ahead at a man in his photo, like it's just odd to me. But he was a weird dude. All right, so as you can see, there's a sign up there that says the second floor, back behind the fire extinguishers. And if you notice to the left of the fire extinguishers, it's a picture of a woman's chest area, and you're going to see in pictures later on that he had a ton of pictures of actual naked women all over the house. It's like a little sink cleaning area. He had a Jesus Christ statue, basically a crucifix, which is crazy for all the stuff he was into. Then you have another lounge area, looks like a study area. You got more bookshelves, you got some more artwork and, antiquities on the wall. So, he really spent a lot of money in the decorating of this home, especially with the artwork. He's got a piano, which is probably very expensive. The lamps, this is like a little lounge study area. You see all the books on the shelves, multiple bookshelves, looks like African tribe mask, and different things like that. More artwork. So he was spending a lot of his money on artwork, as you can see. Another angle of the staircase where you got the statue hanging from the rope with a wedding dress on. That's just crazy to me. And then you have this picture up against the wall, this painting. I'm pretty sure this was very expensive, and it's sitting on a bench in a hallway next to a phone. So either it was taken down or they never got the chance to hang it up. Another bathroom. In the left corner of the picture, you can see a picture of a woman leaning on a stool or something. And then you can see the picture right above the toilet of two little boys looking down in their pants at themselves. So it's like, I don't, this was intentionally done. These pictures were intentionally placed over these toilets for a reason. And now I'm going to leave it at that. Another study area, you see the coffee tables, you see the artwork on the tables, more books. He was a highly intelligent guy, so I'm pretty sure he read a lot, that helped him, unfortunately, refine his mind to become the evil genius that he was. If you look on the table, this desk here next to the computer, you can see a photo of someone, and the face again is redacted. You can see there's a red picture frame. You can see him in the picture, but there's a face redacted. There's a smaller picture on the table in the middle, and it's redacted as well. So, it's redacting these pictures. I want to say these faces due to the fact because they're women. Because if you look in the earlier picture where it was him and another guy, the guy's face wasn't redacted. He was an older guy. Now, could these people be, underage? Possibly. But I don't think they're all underage. I think they're protecting their identities because they don't know at the time they were taking these photos and went through all of this, who were victims, who were family members, and just protecting the innocent in general. It's a badass chandelier. It's got the whole tiger body laying on the rug. Looks like some type of golden Fabergé egg. Like, he dumped some money into, designing and decorating his home because the artwork in here is just insane. Then you go up to another staircase, and this is a picture, and it looks like someone sitting in like the cabin area of a plane, and they got their face redacted. So again, these pictures are littered all over the home, but you can't see the faces. As you go up the stairs, another picture, and then the face is redacted as well. All these pictures, have crazy redactions because of the fact of, are these victims? Are these family members, friends that, They want to protect their identities because, you know, of the crimes he committed. They don't want people coming after them because, you know, they knew the guy or hung out with the guy. And, you know, these people may have known, may have not known. It's just too much to sort out and sort through. So they got to protect them. As you see here, another set of fire extinguishers, and then you got the third floor. And then you see on the left-hand side on this door, it says 24-hour video surveillance. Like I said earlier, everyone knew that that house was bugged up, videoed up, microphoned up. You know, he got everybody's dirt. All the conversations they had in there was being recorded. All the dirt they did in there was being recorded. Basically, it's the same thing, you know, P. Diddy was doing in his mansion. All right, you have a hallway with, it looks like some type of statue of some type of samurai or something, you know, from the Ming Dynasty or something. You know, like I said, he had these statues all over the house. And now you have a picture in the background against the wall. And, you know, I can't tell if it's a man or if it's a woman. Here's a closer look at the picture. You know, they got, of course, they got the private area blurred out. They got the head blocked out and they got the chest blocked out. Now, because they have the chest blocked out, I would be inclined to say it's a woman for the simple fact of if it was a man, you wouldn't be blurring out a man's chest. So this individual must have breast. If you blocking out the head, the breast area and the pelvic area. Again, another angle of the statue. And then if you look into the hallway, you can see there's another picture on the wall of a naked woman. Looks like she's laying on her stomach and they redacted her butt. Like I said, this house is crazy littered with pictures of naked women. Now you get into, I guess, the home massage parlor, you know, and everybody have heard the stories of all the crazy things that were going on in there. And again, you got another picture or painting of, you know, I would be inclined to say maybe the female anatomy again, or it could be the male anatomy and they just blocked it out so you couldn't guess whether it was male or female. Who knows? But, you know, you see the towels, you see the neck wrap, you see the oils and lotions. He's got a phone by the bed, a notepad, looks like a CD player. So, you know, you got the speaker in the corner, you got, you know, the blackout drapes. So this dude was, yeah, wow. And then from another angle, you see more pictures on the wall. You see 1, 2, 3 more pictures where the face and the pelvic area and the butt area has been redacted. And then the picture in the middle, the pelvic area has been redacted. And then most of the chest up to the head has been redacted. So, you know, this dude had this place just littered. And I'm amazed at how many pictures just in these little amount of pictures, you know, we're looking at, that he had all of these photos and paintings of just naked people. Again, another angle, another wall. You can clearly tell that's a woman, you know. So that's a woman, and you could tell all 3 of these pictures are women. So you can clearly tell that. You got a towel on the massage table. You got lotions, oils, and all of that other good stuff. So, and it looks like there's a shower in the background next to the painting on the left-hand side. So yeah, this place was full service. They didn't even have to leave this joint. It was like a hotel. See, now you got the salon chair. You probably get haircuts in there. You know, you got a sink, you got the mirrors. So this is probably for the women to get all glammed up. Now you got a photo of a statue. It looks like there's a phone wrapped up in plastic. There's a lamp, and then it looks like it's a statue of maybe Jesus Christ. This looks like a entranceway into a closet or maybe another bathroom. But if you look at the wall above the towels, it's a picture, of course, of a woman that's naked with everything blacked out. Yo, he loved the female anatomy. I can't knock him for that. These, you know, I hope these aren't victims. I hope these are just like pictures of nude models that he bought, you know. Hopefully that's the case and that these aren't victims. And then you can see he's got the bidet. Of course, that's a European thing. He's got a phone in there. He's got toilet paper for the people, you know, who probably can't or don't want to use the bidet. You know, he's got a picture of a cat, something actually normal for a change. And then over the sink, as you can see, it's another picture of a naked woman that's been redacted. And there's another picture of looks like a naked body too. It's been redacted. So he kept a lot of pictures around his joint with a lot of naked women, and if these are just naked, models that do nude modeling, then he did a good job of decorating the crib. But if these are victims, this is just wild to think that you would have all of this just evidence just up on the wall for the world to see at some point, for people coming in and out the house. Like, you collected some real deal trophies. And if that is the case, I feel bad for these women who, had to go through this, but my goal here is to go through all the files, to pull out the most interesting stuff and to put it on here for you guys to see, because I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your thoughts. This is probably one of the most infamous cases in U.S. history, and we still don't have all the details. We still don't have all the evidence. The government released these last year. Well, there's supposed to be a second part that they're supposed to release, and that has been quietly swept under the rug with the war in Iran and all of that. So we need to keep this at the forefront so we can continue to get the information out about this situation, because there's a lot of names tied to it. I mean, the second picture on here, you saw it. It was former President Bill Clinton in a blue dress and red heels. Now, if I go to my homeboy house and he's got a painting of me up there on the wall in a blue dress and red heels, we gonna have a problem, because that's not cool. All right, so get in the comments. Tell me what you think. Do you think they was freaking together? Because that's an odd picture to have of a friend. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like, comment, share. I'm Ruck, and I'm out.